Was good, ballers? It's Jim's Ballin' back again with the weekly recap for the Lions. The Lions played the Packers, another Thursday game, another game at home, but it was another win, another good win for the Lions. Keep winning games, that's what you'd like to see. Now, the first thing I want to talk about was the officiating, because I've seen a lot of Packers fans complain about the officiating for this game. So what I wanted to say is that I don't think the refs lost this game for the Packers. There wasn't just a single penalty that you can point to and say, if that didn't happen, we would have won the game, right? I mean, was there some penalties that should have been called on the Lions? Yes, but there was also penalties that should have been called on the Packers. I'm thinking about that one play where there was a pile up and the whistle was already blown and a Packers player just jumps on top of the pile, and there was no penalty flag for unnecessary roughness there, and there probably should have been. I mean, whistle already blown and you just jump on top of a pile. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous that could injure somebody, but that wasn't called. And just frankly, there wasn't calls blown on both teams. I mean, there could probably be a penalty on every single play, but at the end of the game, there were 7 penalties on both teams, and I think the officiating was equally bad for both teams. And it just kind of seems like the Packers blaming anyone but themselves for the loss. I know it's tough to admit that, hey, our team isn't as good as another team, right? It's tough to admit, but frankly, that's kind of how it was. I don't think the officials lost this game for the Packers, especially when the Packers had multiple chances to go out and win this game. I'm looking at the 2 4th and goals. The Packers gave both those up. You stop just one of those, that's 7 less points for the Lions. That completely changes this game. Or even the 4th and inches, Lions in field goal range, and they go for it on 4th and inches. The Packers, you had a chance to stop them, keep this game tied. You could even go out and win the game in regulation or force overtime. If you get that stop, you could win this game, but you give up that 4th down. Even with Jared Goff stumbling and falling to the ground, they still give up that 4th down. The Packers, you just had chances to win this game, so you can't really blame the refs for this loss. Packers, you just kind of have to blame yourselves for this loss, honestly. So now with the officiating out of the way, the other biggest thing was those 4th downs for the Lions. They went for it on 5 4th downs, and they got it 4 out of 5 times. That's extremely good efficiency. Dan Campbell, he's going to be Dan Gamble. That is just who he is. And frankly, for the most part, I like it. I like the 4th down calls, especially the 4th and goal calls, both of them. I mean, when you're on the Packers 1 or 2 yard line, if you get the touchdown there, great, which they did. But even if you don't get it, the Packers are pinned on their own 1 or 2 yard line. It's hard for a team to get a first down after that, to go out and score a touchdown or a field goal after starting from your own 1 or 2 yard line. So, of course, I like those 4th downs. The 4th down I wasn't the biggest fan of was the one they didn't get, because they were on their own 30 yard line. I mean, if you don't get that, you're basically giving away free points to the Packers. They're already in field goal range if they stop you. So, wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but if Dan Campbell doesn't have the confidence to go for it on 4th and 1 and their own 30, maybe he doesn't have the confidence to go for it on 4th and goal, you know. Ultimately, maybe that just leaves more points on the board. I mean, ultimately, I think Dan Campbell's gambles, I think that really won the game for the Lions all in all, especially the last one. A lot of people probably don't like that last 4th and inches to go for it when you're already in field goal range. Personally, if it was me, I wouldn't have done it, but I really like the mindset, because what you're saying is you have faith in your team that we're better, and you put the game in your own hands. What you probably didn't want to do is give Jordan Love the chance. Give Jordan Love the chance to go out and win the game. Instead, you go out and you win the game yourself, and I really like that mindset. It's a risky call, one I probably wouldn't have done, but I'm not a head coach, so because it worked out, it was an insanely great call, insanely risky, but it was great. It worked out, and it really locked up the game for the Lions. It won the game for the Lions. I like Dan Campbell's gambles, I really do. And as for the defense, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it going into this game, but ultimately it held up and it did what it needed to do. And it's tough bringing in all these new guys, but if there's any team it'd work for, it'd probably be the Lions. Just the culture of being the underdogs, being overlooked. We're gonna have to work like twice as hard. We're gonna have to bite off some kneecaps to get wins. Like that kind of culture, that belief, this this belief that the Lions team is bought into. I mean, the new guys, they seem to have bought into that belief too. They believe in Dan Campbell. They fight hard for him. These guys coming in, signed off the street, they've been overlooked. And now they're getting their chance and they're fighting hard. They're biting off kneecaps themselves. So if there's any team it'd work for, it'd be the Lions. Didn't play the best defense. There was some miscues, but all in all, I'm pretty proud of how the defense played and it did what it needed to. And the offense too, shout out to them. They were able to put up points and score when they needed to. Last week, they kind of fumbled in the second half. They didn't score points. They didn't go out and help out their defense at all. So this week though, offense looked better, put up all the points they needed to go out and win the game. Overall, it was a really good team win. I'm proud of the Lions here. I didn't have a lot of faith in them going to this week. I thought they'd lose this game, but shout out to them. They were able to do it, get it done, and keep that insanely good record. 12-1 is ridiculous. It's an extremely good record, but even then, the 12-1 is just barely good enough to be in the lead in the NFC North, barely good enough to be in the lead in the NFC. You got the Eagles and the Vikings with insanely good records just breathing down the Lions' neck, and they only have one loss. So it's tough, but they keep winning games and they keep proving that they are the better team. They've been playing a lot of good competition, but they keep getting wins, and that's ultimately what's important. Shout out to the Lions, insanely good game. Shout out to the Packers too, GG. Insanely good game, well fought game, and maybe we'll play each other in the playoffs, and that should probably be a really good game too. Just really good game, really good football, and good result, good win by the Lions.